Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Natalia Salgado. I am the Director of Federal Affairs and Treasurer of the PAC for the Working Families Party. And we are so excited to have you here tonight. We are excited to talk about what happened across this country in so many of the places where you guys have been organizing, making calls, knocking on doors, sending texts, and talk about what happened last night and what does it mean for the future of our country. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be doing breakout rooms that are going to be organized by states and regions with leaders from those areas presenting a brief report out regarding the state of the local races and a chance for you to hear from organizers or directors on our organizing work in your regions. So you guys are going to get to hear about what is going on exactly from where you live. So each pace will allow for you to ask some brief Q&A and opportunities for you to figure out how you can get more involved with the state party. You can self-select where you want to go by navigating to the bottom of your Zoom screen, finding the breakout rooms icon, clicking that icon, and self-selecting the breakout room you would like to be in by clicking the join button next to the breakout room name. If you are on the phone or cannot navigate via the computer, please put in the chat which breakout room you'd like to join, and we will put you in that room. If you prefer to stay in the main room, hang out with me, and not join a breakout, you can take this time to grab a snack, some water, stretch for a few minutes, but make sure you stick around because we have some exciting things we want to talk about tonight. We have an incredible call with a guest that you guys are definitely going to want to hear from. And we will start that main program in about 10 minutes. All right, folks, again, look at the instructions on the screen. Pick out your breakout room. You're going to hear about what is going on in your neck of the woods. If you have any trouble, make sure to let us know in the chat. And we got people who are much savvier than me that can help you get into the room that you need to get into. Hey guys, all right, just reminding you, we got some breakout rooms. so you guys can learn what happened in your city and in your state. I know in some places we're still waiting for some results. In some places, there was some huge upsets. So get into that breakout room, hear from one of our local leaders. They'll talk about what happened, but also they'll also talk about how you can get more involved. And that's what we need. We need local power if we're going to be able to change this country. So get in your breakout room. Again, if you're having any technical difficulties, jump into that chat, let one of us know, and one of our staff will be happy to help. All right, and my staff that is here, WFP staff, if you are in the house, let's make sure we are helping our folks get into their breakout rooms, please. All right, guys, one thing that we know about last night as we're getting our folks into the breakout room is that it didn't work out as expected for the Republican Party. As you guys may have heard, for weeks on end, this was the supposed red wave. And baby, that is not what they got. There's definitely not a wave, maybe not even a stream, frankly. What we saw is that progressives across this country really came together and really worked to get our folks out. I was out in Pittsburgh on the ground, and the sort of turnout we saw from our young people, from our people of color in the city of Pittsburgh was amazing, and truly one of the reasons why we were able to cinch the wins that we were able to win. And so when folks tell you organizing doesn't work, remind them about what happened in 2022 midterm, and that the blowout pretty much fizzled, and that it was because we have been building in our cities and our states and across this country for so long. And that's why we need you in these breakout rooms, because this is how we build this incredible sort of national power. We build it one neighborhood at a time, one street at a time, one city at a time, one state at a time. And that is why we were able to push back the way we did last night. And so I know we're still trying to get you guys in there, and we are figuring that out. But if you haven't yet gotten in your room, get in your room, please. Okay, guys, I'm gonna do these instructions one more time. Up on the screen, read the screen. All right, you can self-select where you want to go by navigating to the bottom of your Zoom screen, finding the breakout rooms icon, clicking that icon, and self-selecting the breakout room you like to be in by clicking the join button next to the breakout room name. If you are on the phone and cannot navigate via the computer, if you're an oldie but goodie like me, please put in the chat which breakout room you'd like to join, and we will put you in that room. If you prefer to stay in the main room and not join a breakout, hang out with me and Joe. Maybe grab a snack, maybe some water, chill out. I hear Joe has some Star Trek figurines he might want to show off at some point. And I'm sorry, I'm hearing we're having some tech issues. I apologize for that. We are going to work on that quickly, and we are going to help you get into these breakout rooms. Yeah, when we say it's live, we're not messing around. This is truly live, and this is as live as it gets, with technical difficulties and all. I want to give a shout out to our ASL interpreters. We got Kaylee and Antonio in the house. Thank you guys so much. Show them a little love in the chat, some appreciation for our folks coming out and making sure that everyone has access to what we're going to be talking about tonight. Appreciate you guys. All right, guys, I'm hearing that some of our rooms are having some technical difficulties. And, this is the world we're living in. Sometimes the technology will not cooperate. But we appreciate you guys so much for coming out and sticking with us. We will make sure that we follow up with each of you and get you the update for your particular city or state. Guys, we're really excited about what we're going to be doing tonight. I think you're going to leave inspired and feeling good about what was accomplished on Election Day. We're going to hear from Nalini Stamp, just giving us an overall picture of what went down. We got Summer Lee, newly elected Summer Lee from Pittsburgh, dropping by and saying hello and her thank yous for all the incredible work that you guys have done. We are going to be hearing from Lexi Coburn, just walking us through what else we could be doing in our regions. We got Maurice Mitchell, who is always an inspiration, coming in and giving us what's next. Where are we going from here? So stay tuned, stay here. We also got to stay tuned because we know that the fight is not over. We have Georgia coming up. That is not settled. And once again, we are going to be looking for so much support to head down to Georgia and figure out how we get Pastor Warnock over the finish line. We cannot allow Senator Warnock, after all the work that we have put in, and all of you, all the work that you guys have put in 2020 to get him into office, to lose to a MAGA Republican like Herschel Walker, and is unacceptable. And we need to make sure we do everything we can to keep control of the Senate. All right, so we are 2 minutes out before the rest of the program. For those of you that have stuck with me, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know technology sometimes will not cooperate with us, but I appreciate you. And I know that you're going to walk away from this call feeling inspired and ready to go. All right, guys, we are getting close to starting. Some of our folks who did make it to the breakout rooms are going to start coming back in, and we get to be a big family again. Looking at my girl Nalini now, wondering if she's wearing a Flyers, oh, no, working families. You didn't go full Philly on me, huh? All right, good to know, good to know. You'll be hearing from Nalini very shortly, everybody. Get ready. She's going to give us a sense of what happened last night. How did we stop the red wave? How were we able to do this? All right, we're 1 minute out, folks. So if you're in the room, you can hear my voice, but you went to go get your water, you went to go get your stretch, start making your way back to the screen. All right, good folks, give me a countdown of where we're heading. When are we on? 15 seconds. All right, y'all. We got 15 seconds to go. Coming out of those breakout rooms. If you're back in the main room, thank you for coming out. I hope what you heard about your city and your state was uplifting, if not energizing, to get out there and continue to do the work that's necessary. All right. It sounds like we got everyone back. Welcome back. Welcome back to the big room. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for those of you that stuck it out through the technological issues. Appreciate you. I promise this will be worth it. So next up, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing my friend, Nalini Stamp. And for those of you folks out there, if you don't know Nalini, get to know her. She is one of the senior leaders here at the Working Families Party. And by the way, she has a birthday coming up next week. So if you want to put in the chat, show her some love, send her some love, please. She deserves it. She's finally catching up to me. All right, Nalini, over to you.
Thank you, Natalia. And thank you everyone who's joining us tonight. My name is Nalini Stamp, and I'm the Director of Strategy and Partnerships for the Working Families Party. And I'm based here in Philadelphia, where we had a pretty good night on Tuesday. But let's just be really clear. The election is still not over. They are still counting in many states, and there are still races to be set. That being said, in no way was there a red wave, red tsunami, or whatever noun you want to describe what happened. They tried to tell us about our wokeness. They tried to weaponize public safety against us. And still, this was one of the best midterms for an incumbent president in modern history. And that's because of the hard work of organizers and progressives that did the work. So let me tell you what we know. So young people turned out. Shout out to Gen Z. I used to be the youth director here, and I'm not that youngin' anymore. But shout out to Gen Z. Y'all turned out for the issues that you care about: economic justice, climate change, and workers' rights. With a shout out to the 89% of Black youth and 67% of Latino youth turning out for Democrats. Abortion was also on the ballot. And it turns out that people wanted to protect their freedoms. We know that there has been constant attacks on our bodily autonomy. It started with trans communities being attacked on the local level. No one should control our bodies except for ourselves. And that's what people said on election day when they went out to vote. I also want to say people thought that there was going to be a big red wave of mi gente. People thought that there was going to be a Latino or Latinx red wave, but there wasn't. Latinos, especially young ones, were talked to about their rights, and we came out swinging to protect our freedoms. Our impact is bigger than ever, and Working Families Party activists and voters are enacting change up and down the ballot. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you who volunteered, who sent messages to your friends, your mamas, your cousins, your community to get out the vote. Our candidate pipeline is also working. WFP is building up a future leaders with programs across the country and accessible ways to learn how to get involved with campaigns like Campaign Camp. If you attended a campaign camp, that's really hard to say. If you attended a campaign camp, put in the chat, I did that. You did that. Bravo. In lots of states, we also out-organize the democratic infrastructure. And here's the thing. There are some Democrats that won't fight for our issues. We always know that. There are electeds that won't fight for our issues. And we always know that's a possibility. But the terrain allows us to hold them accountable and to continue to organize. And what I would love to see is more young people running for office, for city council, for school boards, more young people to be campaign managers, field directors, and more. So let's continue to organize. Let's continue to go to campaign camps. Let's continue to get our political education on. Let's win in Georgia. And let's get working people what they need, because that was the mandate that happened on November 8th, and it is not over. Over the next couple of weeks, there will be lots of pundits and lots of polls coming out, but that doesn't reflect real people. Real people organize and real people get results. So let's win and bring it home in Georgia. Let's continue to fight for our issues. And let's win in 2023. Let's win in 2024. And let's win for generations to come. Thanks, y'all, for everything that you've done.
Thank you so much, Nell. Oh gosh, I don't even know how I'm supposed to follow that, to be quite honest. Everyone is wishing you a happy birthday in the chat. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. As Natalia mentioned earlier, my name is Lexi Coburn, and I'm going to be talking briefly about how the work of the Working Families Party helped to defy gravity for the Dems on Tuesday night. As Nalini just said, in the face of constant polls saying that Dems were going to have a bad night, and that didn't really happen, now did it? So if you've attended any training that explains how we operate as an independent third political party, you've probably heard that while we are building our own political party, we have to be a relevant electoral actor right now. And in order to achieve that, we have to use the Democratic Party line to get there. The duality of our operating with those tensions at play can be hard to understand and explain sometimes, but Tuesday night showed us how that strategy plays out and how it played out in our favor. Next slide, please. So most of you know that WFP has our own candidates that appear on the ballot in most states as a Democrat. I live in North Carolina, raised up NC, and I voted for WFP endorsed candidates, and they appeared on my ballot as a Democrat, because of how the election laws work in my state. However, in states like New York and Connecticut, WFP candidates appear on the ballot line as WFP instead of what we would normally see. And this is typically called fusion voting. Next slide, please. So for this midterm election, we released Ballot Ready, which operates as a voter information center in which anyone could look up their address, see WFP endorsed candidates on their ballot, register to vote, or make a turnout plan, voting by mail. It's a one-stop shop and it definitely works. Information sharing like this deeply matters in states where we are on the ballot because it directly aligns with how people tend to think about who to vote for. And mostly, that's voting a straight party ticket. And yes, you can use Ballot Ready for the Georgia runoff as well. Spoiler alert, but our national campaign director will talk more about that in just a few minutes. So for voters in Connecticut and New York, who have inevitably come across WFP organizers, activists, and volunteers. Some of you are already in the chat tonight. These people made relational connections that led to electoral power. When voters get to the voting booth and they know about us and they align with our values, they vote for our candidates. Next slide, please. So to illustrate my point, let's look at an example coming out of Connecticut. So in Connecticut's 5th district, Jahana Hayes faced a tight re-election race. Connecticut voters had the choice to vote for Hayes as a Democrat or a Working Families Party candidate. As you can see from this graph, voters could also vote for her opponent as either a Republican or an independent candidate. The sentiment that every vote counts is incredibly real because as you can see, Congresswoman Hayes won her race by 904 votes. You can also see that if no one in the 5th district voted for Hayes on the WFP ballot line, she may have lost that race. Now, you can absolutely say that 1.57% of the vote isn't a strong showing, but when you have congressional races across the country that still have not been called because the votes are just that tight, 1.57% may be exactly what a candidate needs to get across that victory line. Now, this didn't just happen by appearing on the ballot. This is also a huge testimony to our organizing power and rigor on the ground in Connecticut, knocking on countless doors, making tens of thousands of phone calls, connecting to voters via issues that matter and values that resonate, values that as a party, we ground in everything we do. This attracts people to the voting process and it gets them in that voting booth. And when that happens, our candidates win. All right, next slide, please. I would wager to say that everyone on this call is an organizer, one way or the other. And as organizers, we have an arsenal of tools in our toolbox that we yield to get to our goals. And this is even more important and true for the Working Families Party because we not only use our WFP ballot line to exercise our electoral power in fusion states in order to hack the electoral system, but what about states that don't have fusion voting as an option? Are we just powerless there? And the answer is absolutely not, because PA WFP knocked 400,000 doors for their races. Without Georgia's WFP, the massive field program, that Senate race may have been called on Tuesday night for the other side. Our power in the field makes these races even more competitive. Our power in the field gets our candidates and Democratic candidates that much closer to victory. In New York, NYWFP is starting to be credited with executing a critically strong field program that got voters to the polls and helped Kathy Hochul win her governor's race at a time where people were nervous about the outcome. Next slide, please. So all that to say is that it is our intention to keep using all these tools where we can keep building our electoral power by using fusion voting as a way to bring more people into the political process and voting our ballot line. It is our intention to keep executing earth-shaking, savvy, and smart field campaigns in non-fusion states to push our people over the victory line. Now, it may take a few times to get it right. We are nothing but, if not audacious in everything we try to do, but it is very much our intention to never stop and to hold the line for a new voting bloc to finally have their political home here at the WFP. So with that, I thank you all for your time, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to our National Campaigns Director, Joe Dinkin, for the federal race rundown.
Hey, everybody, and thanks so much, Lexi. I'm going to give you just the state of play about what things look like across America. Going to touch on both how things look, the balance of power between the Democrats and the Republicans, but also how we at the Working Families Party, how we fared in the races that we prioritized for the candidates that we endorsed. And I'm just going to go Senate and then House, and then I'm going to quickly touch on a couple of governors, and then I'll throw it back. So quickly on the Senate, first big win, John Fetterman for U.S. Senate. Now, people know it's real hard to unseat a senator, pick up a seat in the U.S. Senate during a midterm year, especially for the party in power. This was a huge, legendary win. John Fetterman ran a great campaign, but WFP organizers in Pennsylvania knocked on about 400,000 doors across the state to help make that happen. All the way down towards election day, we had people working hard on that race, including a 1,000-person phone bank on election day, getting ballots cured from people who had cast their ballots but had missed cast their ballots by mail, but had missed a technical step and needed to get them fixed, picking up votes all day long on election day, helping people fix their ballots. Go to number 2, Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin. So this race was a real heartbreaker. Mandela Barnes is a friend, a WFP champion, and the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate in Wisconsin. The pundits and the haters thought he could never win. And as a result, some of the national big donors who are funding Senate races all over the country stepped back, thinking that he wasn't going to be able to make it close. In the end, Mandela Barnes lost by just 30,000 votes. This is a closer race than when Russ Feingold challenged Ron Johnson. Either of the last 2 times, it was a razor thin race that I really believe with further investment to help Mandela match up against the Republican big spending that was in the race. It was winnable, slipped out of our hands, but Mandela, I think, has a bright future. I don't know what he'll do next, but I'm always going to be a Mandela fan. Next, in Georgia, WFP members played a huge role in getting out the vote in Georgia and pushing Raphael Warnock into a runoff. Now, we had a huge program knocking on hundreds of thousands of doors, making millions of calls and text messages in 2020 to help secure victory for Raphael Warnock in the U.S. Senate race 2 years ago in the runoff. We did it then, we're going to do it again. But last time it was a 9-week runoff, and now it's only 4 weeks away. So we're sprinting into hyperspeed right now to turn out every vote we can. And of course, get ready to text runoff to 30403. That's runoff to 30403 to be part of that movement. Keep going, go on to the House. So the House was really where people were predicting a big red wave, as Natalia mentioned up top on the call. The national pundits were saying there might be 30 or 40 Democratic seats lost. Instead, the House is still too close to call, and WFP candidates won new seats all over the country. First of all, I want to talk about 6 new WFP champions who are headed to Congress, who won their primaries earlier this year, but won their election just this week and are headed to Congress in November. We've got Greg Casar in Austin, Texas, Jasmine Crockett in Dallas. Keep going. We got Maxwell Frost in Orlando, Florida, Delia Ramirez in Chicago, Becca Ballant, who won the Seoul seat, the at-large seat in Vermont, and last, Summer Lee in Pittsburgh, who you guys are going to get to hear from in just a minute. Summer Lee won her Democratic primary, but then the Republicans bit back hard. The Republicans ran a candidate with the same name as the 30-year Democratic incumbent in an effort to confuse voters. Republican super PACs put $3 million on TV against Summer, and then AIPAC, who had spent $3 million against Summer in the primary, saying she wasn't a real Democrat, put another $1 million on TV behind the Republican and attacked Summer again. But we did everything we could, knocked on doors, turned out the vote, got on TV to have Summer's back, and she won. And she won by about 10%, huge victory. Then we won. I'm going to just touch on governors real quick. There were big elections for governor where two things happened. MAGA extremist governors in places like Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, the state I live in, where Doug Mastriano was the extremist candidate. Kerry Lake in Arizona were pushed back across the board. Voters rejected governors who wanted to end abortion rights, who wanted to, who were saying that they wanted to change election results that they didn't like. Those governors lost across the board. Then also there were some blue states where there were elections that were closer than you might have expected. States like New York, for example. In New York, the New York State Democratic Party basically didn't show up to the fight. The Brooklyn Democratic Party spent in the biggest county in the state, spent $0 on turning out voters, $0 in a statewide election to turn out Democratic voters in Brooklyn. So the Working Families Party stepped up, did what we do, turned out young people and progressives and Black and brown voters, and we're able to save that election and help ensure that Kathy Hochul was elected governor and stop Lee Zeldin. We're also able to throw in with some late media support in the Oregon governor's race too, one of the closest governor's races in America. That race was close because a corporate Democrat was running on the ballot as an independent, backed by millions of dollars from corporate executives to split the vote away from the Democratic nominee. And our late advertising push was a key factor in helping Democrats come home and vote for the Democratic governor. She ran a great campaign too. That's Tina Kotek, the new governor elect of Oregon. You're all going to be really excited about her. So that's the national picture. WFP candidates also, I'm not going to go through them all. Also, dozens of WFP candidates were elected to state legislative seats. And all those new members of Congress that I just mentioned, a lot of them were down ballot WFP progressive elected officials before they ran for Congress. And so the state legislative seats, hugely, hugely important because of the power states have over everything from taxes to healthcare to abortion rights, but they're also the stars of our movement of the future. And we elected a whole new crop of a couple of dozen new ones. And so that's how the elections look to me. Red wave, it wasn't. Progressive wave, maybe. So I'll turn it back to you, Natalia.
Thank you, Joe. From your lips to all the reporters out in the world, progressive wave. Yes, let's see if we can get that going. So next up, I have the pleasure of introducing Summer Lee, state rep out of Pennsylvania, who will be the first Black woman to represent Pennsylvania in Congress. And y'all, she beat back not just a little bit of money. She beat back a whole lot, millions of dollars of dark money coming in from AIPAC. If you guys don't know, AIPAC is a pro-Israel PAC that contends that it cares about Israel versus Palestine, but really they just care about keeping progressives out of Congress. And so what we get in Summer Lee in Congress is an activist, an organizer first. And I know that she is going to be a fighter for all of the things that we care about because she is relentless and has been relentless till the very end. So with no further ado, Congresswoman Summer Lee.
Thank you, Natalia. Being on this call means that I now don't have to call you and give you an individual thank you. So I'm going to tick you off. But it's so good to be with you all. I am obviously exhausted. I bet everybody here is, because this has been a cycle. It has been just a wild up and down roller coaster with just so much from our primary to the last moment of the general, right? We have been fighting back, just attacks from literally every angle. If you all are following in the primary, right, you may have known, like, we went from having a 25-point lead because of just the mighty coalition that we built, the work that we had done, organizing and building bridges and bringing together a multiracial, multi-generational movement. We saw that lead erode because of folks putting in their dark money into our election. And in the 3 weeks leading up to our primary, if you were in Pittsburgh, you could not turn on the television and not see one of their nasty smear ads, right? Whether it had been, Summer is a Trump supporter or isn't enough of a Democrat, right? We were getting it all. And the voters of Pittsburgh fought back against that, waded through that deluge of money and ads and mailers, and we won. And we won a big victory in May. So we come back, and in November, we end up having to run again, because we know that when you're a Black woman, when you're a progressive, when you're fighting for working class people, working class values, when we are going up against corporate interests, and we're going to hold folks accountable to a politics that actually serves all of us and doesn't just serve those with the most, we know we're going to come up against people. And I just want to say thank you all to our whole Working Families Party family, because I can say this beyond a shadow of a doubt. If it were not for the way that you all, along with some of our other allies, if y'all didn't throw down the way that you threw down with us, we wouldn't be here, right? Again, AIPAC came in. I now have the distinction of being the only candidate to have to fight them in the primary and the general. And what we know is, and we need to be very clear about what's happening here, the dark money that's coming in, is to stop our movement where we're building this working families majority. It's to stop this movement where we're building a reflective democracy that has Black and brown folks, poor and working class folks in office. They're trying, and they're going to continue to do everything to stop us. This is not going to be the last time that we see them. It's not going to be the last time that this movement has to encounter them. But we got to get ready so we don't have to worry about what's going to happen next. This is real. We won this race because we had folks throw down with us. That's it. I love organizing. I love and I believe in the power of organizing, and that helped. But the reality is that we have to not go toe to toe. We will never be able to go toe to toe with dark money. But our ability to define us, to define our values, to define our politics is our greatest strength. Where we can do that, where we can get out in front of voters and let them know what we stand for, what we have been fighting for, that makes the difference. That's the thing that drove people out in Pittsburgh 12, all over this district. It's the thing that helped people to cut through the muck, helped them to see through the disinformation and the lies. And you all were such an incredible part of that. So I hope that you all get a moment of rest. I hope you all are taking a victory lap. I don't have time to do that, but I hope you all are, because this was meaningful, and we're going to have to do it again. And we're going to have to do it again and again and again, but it's going to be worth it every single time. So let's get it. Let's make sure that we understand that we might be bloody, but our heads are unbowed right now. We are not going to equivocate to corporate cultures, corporate PACs. But we're going to keep standing tall, and our progressive values are going to keep standing tall in our working class movement. And that is going to be the thing that breaks through. So shout out to you all, and shout out to Gen Z.
All right. Summer, you should know that in the chat, there's already talk about Summer for president. Listen, I need a nap first. Right, I need at least like a week vacation before we go there. But yes, Congresswoman Summer Lee is going to rock the House. Expect to be seeing more from her in the weeks to come. Thank you, Congresswoman, for joining us. All right, next up, we have Tiffany Flowers, Director of the Frontline, altogether wonderful organizer, activist, who has really been helping to get the progressive movement organized when the moment calls for it. Tiffany, do we have you ready to go? All right, hold on, Tiffany.
Hey, Natalia.
Oh. I see
Sorry
you
about
there.
that.
All right, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you. My name is Tiffany Flowers. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the campaign director of the Frontline, as well as the Election Defenders with Angela Peoples. Just wanted to first and foremost shout out all of the volunteers and say thank you so much for the energy that you put into getting us to this point in the election. From Michigan to Ohio to Pennsylvania and all over this country, people came out and protected each other. We did this because we got us. We love each other, and we know that everybody deserves the right to vote with joy, with dignity, and in love. And that's what the Election Defenders did. We're going back to Georgia very, very soon. We are going to be hitting the ground. We know that there's work to do, and we know that our folks are counting on us again to turn it all around. We took so much time, so much energy, and so much effort to build out the most robust Election Defenders program that there could be in 2022. Excuse me. Shout out to Nalini Stamp and everybody who started Election Defenders in 2020, and shout out to the crew for 2022 and what we're doing. I can't stress enough that we do this for us. We do this because we truly believe that everybody deserves the right to vote with dignity, vote with joy, and vote in safety. I can tell you that our work took us from 6 a.m. on Tuesday morning all the way to 2 a.m. on the East Coast, and at 2:05, we got the call that the last voter in Arizona that our team was responsible for had voted and had made it through. You know, we're so blessed that there were no incidents. We're so blessed that we are in such a beautiful and deep community of love with our WFP family, with people that we're bringing into the fight, and people all over this country who know that the future that we are all building, the future that we all deserve, we're almost there. We're almost there, but we absolutely have to stick together and we have to keep fighting. And so, again, I just invite you to please look out for the Election Defenders. Text Frontline to 30403 to stay in touch with us, because we're definitely going to have more opportunities. We got one more fight in Georgia to win. I know that we could do it together. I know that we got us. And I just want to say shout out to the whole WFP family. Shout out to everything that we've been able to accomplish together. And I know that this road, like I said, it's going to get us to the other side as long as we stick together. So thank you. Peace, everybody. Frontline, text Frontline to 30403 if you want to stay down with the Election Defenders and get down with the work we have to do in Georgia. So I just, again, thank you. Stay in the fight. Congratulations to all the candidates who won. Congratulations to everybody who stays in the fight and stays encouraged. We love you. And thanks again. Peace. Natalia, I think you are up, friend.
Up, Tiff. Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you getting on and bringing that energy. I know, like me, you are exhausted. We had a week, maybe a couple months. So in the chat, show some love for Tiffany. Keep these spirits up as she heads into yet another fight. Show some love and appreciation for her. Okay, everybody, we're gonna keep moving here. We have a WP activist by the name of Apurva Tandon, and please feel free to correct me if I mispronounce your name. But we will be hearing next from Ms. Tandon. I think she's ready to go.
Hi, thank you, Natalia. Hi, everyone. My name is Apurva. Activist is a big word, but I'm just a grad student in Philly. I study critical race theory and Shakespeare, and I honestly came into studying race out of my own lived experience, lots of feelings of frustration, and my way of turning that into some kind of productive action has basically just been finding ways to canvass, protest, petition, try to organize and unionize within different jobs that I've had. And then I kind of stumbled upon WFP by accident not that long ago. But I'm so happy I did, honestly, because the Working Families Party feels like the biggest and most impactful leftist organization that I've been a part of. And it's because WFP activists have been showing up every time, y'all. It's because we just got the biggest class of WFP candidates elected this midterm. It's because unions are winning everywhere, which is amazing. It's because new people who didn't even think they had an interest in politics before have literally come out in droves to vote this election, thanks to the calls and texts that we've been sending. So whether you talk to 50 voters or 500, or whether you attended an event here or took the initiative to host your own event through WFP, this volunteer community is lively and growing and getting so much done. And honestly, I feel like all of that is such an amazing example of what we can do when we work together. Like seeing this community of volunteers in action, honestly, being in action with y'all really just gives me a big sense of hope and this feeling that I'm part of something that's actually making progress and making a difference. Really, I only put in a few hours a week, which isn't that much. But when thousands of us are putting in a few hours every week, it's adding up to such a powerful movement that's really living up to the slogan, y'all. It's for the many, not the few. And honestly, by the many, like we are the many that are doing this work. And in the spirit of us being the many and being so powerful and effective when we work together, I'm here to ask us all to just hold on to this motivation and energy that we have right now and show up together again to win the Georgia runoff. WFP activists were a big part of winning in 2020, and we can do it again. So please, y'all, join us in working to win the runoff and keep the Senate out of the hands of extremists. And you can do that by texting the keyword runoff to 30403. That's runoff to 30403. Thanks, y'all. And now I'm super excited to introduce a special message from Working Families Party National Director, Maurice Mitchell.
Good evening. I'm Maurice Mitchell. I am the National Director of the Working Families Party. It's a pleasure to be in community with all of you tonight in the land of reality where red waves aren't real and progressives helped Democrats defy history. Now, we all saw the polls. We all know the stats. The party in power has lost seats in every election in our lifetime, except actually one election, that being the 2002 midterms following 9/11. Now, as I speak to you now, Democrats are a few seats away from maintaining control of the Senate. And despite Republicans' premature victory celebrations, control of the House is still up for grabs. That I can say both of these things with a straight face is a testament to the hard work we've done during this cycle, and also a testament to the work that we've done pushing Democrats to govern progressively. And that last thought has not gone unnoticed by the opposition. Joe Biden, as a matter of fact, as strange as this might even seem to some of us, and as strange as it feels to even utter these words, is perhaps the most progressive president in American history. You just look at the stats. And I'm going to deviate really quickly to do something I've never done before, I may never do again, quote Ted Cruz. When talking about the Democrats' good showing during the midterms during a recent appearance on Fox News, the senator from Texas said, and I quote, "Why did the Democrats do better than expected? Because for 2 years, they've governed like liberals. You know, that's what they did. That excited their base. That excited a bunch of young voters that came out in massive numbers. When you actually stand for something, your base gets excited," end quote. Working Families Party values the idea that we can have a government that takes care of the material needs of the people it governs. And we believe that those are winning values. We push this government to meet the people's material needs from day one. We saw when the government moved quickly and allocated more than $1 trillion to help us get out of the pandemic. We also saw what happened with the Inflation Reduction Act that saw a significant investment of resources in fighting climate change to the tune of $379 billion. And we saw what the infrastructure bill, which will fix crumbling roads and bridges and also replace every single lead pipe in America, how that could put people back to work. And we took those victories and our vision to the people and articulated what we could do with a true working families majority in Congress. Now, we did that to the tune of 1 million doors knocked, 5 million phone calls made, and 40 million text messages sent. And when we prove that you can show up for the people showed up for us and showed up for themselves at the ballot box. For that, I simply want to say thank you to our member organizations and partner organizations and affiliated unions, dedicated volunteers, our elected officials, WFP champions, up and down the ballot in state legislatures and Congress everywhere, and our staff that left it all on the battlefield from January to election day. I want to say again, thank you. We don't often take back victory laps in our work, right? We often just go from one to another. But I think it's important that we do, especially given the results and our very real impact. We have to ask ourselves, I think, this question, right? How would this election have gone without the presence of progressives and without the presence of the Working Families Party? And I think we all know the answer. But just like 2020, we're headed into overtime. And I hope you'll all take some time to recharge and to reset and then come back to help us fight this fight. Right now, Georgia will determine who holds either the 50th or the 51st Senate seat. And while we're just shy of the 52nd we hope for, 51 Democratic senators means we avoid the Manchin Sinema veto in the next congressional session and only have to deal with one of them. And after we win in Georgia, we'll get back to the very real work of pushing this government to be the best it can be and get down to the very important and very real business of winning municipal elections in 2023. In an environment where far-right election denier MAGA Republicans have wholly captured the GOP, we cannot afford to leave any seats uncontested from the top to the bottom of the ticket. Wherever and whenever the GOP is running, we will meet them on the field. If they're fielding candidates for county dog catcher, progressives will be fielding candidates as well. So once again, I want to thank you all for being in these important fights with us and for continuing to stay in the fight. Let's get it. Let's go on to victory. Thank you.
All right, you guys, I don't know about you, but I am feeling pretty energized. I'm sorry, I think there might be a lag in my video. Are you guys getting me okay? Tech folks, tell me I'm coming through fine. Okay, great. All right, guys. So if what you have heard has inspired you the way it has inspired me, I need you to text "run off" to 30403 to take action with WFP in Georgia. All right. Once again, that is "run off." One word, 30403 to take action with WFP in Georgia, because we will not allow a single one of our senators go. We are going to fight tooth and nail till the very end. All right. That is the call to action. Make sure you text. I'm going to hand the mic back to the wonderful Lexi Colbert.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Can we get some commotion in the chat for Miss Natalia Salgado? Come on. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We really hope everyone here has a better picture of the accomplishments and the amazing work we've done together that brought us to this point, and what we will need to accomplish over the next 4 weeks. 4 weeks, that's a month, together to make it count again in Georgia. We are now going to go ahead and close this call with a lot of appreciation and a chant. Do not unmute your microphones. You probably cannot do that. But where you're sitting right now, I would love for you, when I say WF, you say P. WF, WF, WF. Come on, because we need all that energy for the next 4 weeks, y'all. We got to go to Georgia and knock some stuff over. We got to do the thing, and we got to make it count. Thank you all so much for being here with us this evening. We hope you have a great one, and we'll see you out there. Take care. Have a good evening.